Hey there, hope this video finds you well. I know it's been a hot minute since I did my first part. I'm going to get right to business. Been a little while, so I've got some slides that I'm going to be interspersing with the content, but in the meantime, see me looking away from the camera so that I can go through the slides. In the first video, I talked about sigils, what they are, why use them, talked about servitors and how they differ from sigils, and how to use them. And I mentioned Tommy Kelly and his deck, briefly mentioned how he had brought them all to life on one Halloween night, and I mentioned Liber Null as one of the more ritual chaos magic books that you might want to study if you want to go that route. I mentioned Grant Morrison, and I used the term comic book writer, and I should have said graphic novelist, and truly that is the correct term, and that is what he does. He's a graphic novelist. And then I went on to the larger topic of my own realization of how there's polarity energy of the light energy and the dark energy, or white energy and black energy, and how they're each is a sphere and how they intersect like cogs, if you will, and the place where they intersect is where life happens as we know it. That it's, neither good nor bad, it's just the interchange of those two energies is what makes life, and how the flows of those things can be pleasant or unpleasant. Sometimes they're jarring, sometimes they're beautiful, and sort of the asymmetry of that is just what we experience as life. I'm going to try, and as part of interspersing these slides in this video, I'm going to try and get a slide where I show the CIA unclassified documents illustrating how this is a holographic universe. And I had mentioned how they showed like two spheres interlocking. That supported what I had the night before I made that video. I'd had this dream, this half dream realization in one of my meditations. But moving on, in this video, some of the things that I want to cover are how we do live in a mathematical construct, if you will. I want you to just notice how in the past decade or so, how many movies have come out where there's somebody playing an avatar. There's like okay, so like Ready Player One, the main character escapes his own reality to go into this other world and play as an avatar. I know that the basic premise is that they go into this other world using this construct, this mathematical construct, if you will, to be able to experience this other world, and or a device or some kind of technology, right? So it's through the use of technology specifically, and when you're using technology, that basically that ends up coming down to math, right? It takes engineering, which is based on math, to create some kind of construct in order to experience another world or some other kind of life experience. So think about how many movies have come out in the past decade, 15 years, that are based around that concept. Well, there's a reason for that, is my point. There's a reason for that. That's what we live in. And I think more and more people are kind of feeling that. It's percolating up through their subconscious. They're just kind of getting the idea because it feels real, because it is real. That's what this is. That's why math works to explain this universe. But that's also why magic works in this universe. Magic is, if you will, a kind of math. Letters and symbols, written words, they're really not any different from math. It's any kind of written symbology, any kind of thought form. This is going to sound really weird, and I don't know if this is going to make sense. Thought forms are how we manipulate this universe because of how constricted we have become in manipulating this universe, because it's gotten to the point where it's kind of caving in on us. A lot of people are waking up to the fact that it has started to kind of cave in on us. Parts of it are collapsing. A lot of people are waking up to that and are remembering who we are and our abilities. Some things are working again that didn't used to work. So we're seeing a resurgence of magic, which is good. And there seems to be some kind of a convergence between science and magic in some areas, which is good. Writing things down is almost like a crutch. But I mean, if it works, it works. If some people find that they need proof, so I'm going to talk about science for just a second. Some people think that they need proof, and they need to complete a lot of steps, and then they need to see certain results over and over and over again in order to be sure that something is real or true. And it has to be very complicated, and there has to be a lot of symbols and so on involved. And it has to be very complex for it to be real and for it to be true. And I'm not going to argue that. That's just how it is for some people. But that's a crutch. And that is one way to make things work. It does work. But then you have the other side, the like magic side, the free side, where, say, a yogi who has simply meditated and fasted and gone deep into their mind their whole life, and they can do all these things, lie in a bed of nails and get up from it with not even a prick, no blood, no prick, nothing. They can slow their heartbeat down to 10 beats an hour, and do all these miraculous things with their body. They can practically levitate, so on, simply because they just have complete control over their body and their mind and their spirit, and all is one and what have you. And they don't need proof. They are the proof. Sigils and servitors to do that, that's also a crutch. We essentially live in a mathematical construct. Because of that, programming works in this universe. You can control your life in this universe because it's a programmed universe. So math, spells, incantations, intentions, they're all different types of programming. It all works. Now, one thing that I have observed as an insomniac, and also due to the types of meditations that I do and my increased awareness just through what I've experienced, is that there are certain programming downloads that we get when we're asleep. I don't know if that's always been the case during my lifetime, if it's always been the case over the course of humanity, or if it's recent. I don't really know if that's been a constant or not. It's just something that I've noticed over the past several years, and I don't know if it's just because I've just started noticing it because of the work that I've been doing. So in my own meditations that I end up doing in the middle of the night, I've observed something very akin to programming language being sent my way, although it's not any kind of language or symbols that I've ever seen in real life. There's an exercise that you can do if you can keep your eyes open without blinking. Get in front of your computer, pull up a blank browser window or an empty Word document or, PowerPoint slide or something. Just stare at it unblinkingly for as long as you possibly can. Let your eyes become unfocused and just stare at it. And you have to just not let yourself blink. But you have to be able to keep yourself from blinking. And because once you blink, it's like the thing resets. But if you can spend a couple of solid minutes just staring, first you'll start to see that the pixels on your screen will become really apparent. But then after that, you'll start to see beyond the pixels on the screen. It's almost like the programming language behind it will start to come up, but it's not the programming language, because that would be actual language that you can recognize. No, this is something else. These are weird symbols that are hella trippy. Give it a try. Give it a try. And I swear to you, you will be freaked out. It's fascinating and it's fucking freaky as hell. That is what the universe is made of. And it's like, it's not in your screen. What you're seeing is not in your screen. What you're seeing is right in front of you and between you and your screen. And it's like layers, and it's layers this way, and it's this way, and it's this way, and it's everywhere. It's in the air. Sometimes I can see it in the air. It's what the universe is made out of. I kid you not. It's some alien programming. So you get new downloads at night. It feels to me that when I'm awake, I don't care if I get downloads when I'm asleep, but it feels like if I happen to be awake, that it's better for me somehow. I'm protected or something like that. But this has been a very powerful year for me, and I've been doing a lot of breaking free. This whole year has been about taking back control and coming into my own energetically and psychically and figuring out what that is, and basically stealing back the power that was stolen from me, even though it's been really hard. Knowing all of that, how the universe works. The next slide is what you should do. And I'm not going to go in depth into this. I'm just going to kind of touch on some things because I don't want to go on too long here. I've already gone on pretty long. Because this is a mathematical universe, that's why the law of attraction works, or sometimes doesn't, because if it's misapplied, and how it can be misapplied. There's that whole like lust of result. You think that you're putting your intention out there, but you're coloring it with other things. Meditation, and a lot of people say they can't meditate, but I'm telling you, everyone can meditate, and it's so much easier than you think. And I'll be going into the simplest way. And of course there's magic, and there are very easy ways to do magic as well. There's yoga, and if you're already involved in doing yoga, that is wonderful. Affirmations are wonderful. But again, that's kind of along the lines of the law of attraction. You have to make sure that you're wording your affirmations in a way that is correct programming. There's not negative programming built in there. And hypnosis. Hypnosis is another modality that can be very effective when used correctly. And if you've ever tried hypnosis with someone who really knows what they're doing, or self-hypnosis using a book or a tape or something that has been created properly, then you'll know the benefits can be really, really good. Oh, and I didn't include prayer in here, but any of these could be considered a type of prayer. The wording is what's important. The wording of it is what's critical. So that is part 2. I hope to be coming out with a part 3 much sooner than I did with this part 2, and I hope you're well, and I hope you found this helpful and informative, and I expect you to have questions. Please leave your questions in the comments, or let me know what you found informative. Let me know what you are the most curious about, or what you'd like me to focus on in the next talk, because a lot of different starting points that I could hit on or focus on in part 3. So let's get that conversation going. And until then, I bid you peace and love as always. Mwah.